Welcome to Brush Up Zoology program, and we are continuing the immunology basic. Where in my last video tutorial, I have told you about the functioning of the macrophages, and then we talked about the B cells and the T cells. I told you the function of B cells and the T cells. The T cells, they have T cell antigen receptors. That means there are different kind of T cells, and they have a number of function. One group only interacts with mononuclear phagocytes, and that helps them to destroy the incoming intracellular pathogens. So therefore they would be called as T helper cells or Th1 cells. So one type, that how it behaves, it interacts with the phagocytes, mononuclear phagocytes, and help them to destroy the intracellular pathogens. So that would be type 1 T helper cell. Second type is that interacts with B cells. These are called as type 2 T helper cells, that is TH2 cells. Then third type is the third group that is responsible for destruction of host cells that have become infected by viruses or other intracellular pathogens, and this particular action which is imparted by them, that is called as cytotoxicity. The kind of action is cytotoxicity, and these type of T cells are called as cytotoxic T lymphocytes. So third type is cytotoxic T lymphocyte. So three categories, or simply they're also called as TC cells. Means helper cell, these are helping the macrophages, these are helping the mononuclear phagocytes. Second type, which are this, again they are responsible for helping the B cells and help them to divide and differentiate and make antibodies in that very function, where the B cells, they are forming plasma cell clone, and that these are making antibodies. So here these cells are helping, whereas third type is cytotoxic T cells, T lymphocytes. That means there are the pathogens, they are creating certain, they are being destructed by the viruses, already infected by the viruses or other kind of pathogens, and these help in destroying those particular cells. Hence, they are, because this action is cytotoxicity, the cells have become toxic, cytotoxic, hence cytotoxic T lymphocytes. In every case, T cells, they recognize the antigens present on the surface of other cells using a specific receptor which is called as T cell antigen receptor, TCR. This is called as TCR. Then T cells, they generate their effects either by releasing certain soluble proteins and or which are called as the cytokines. They are called as cytokines, which signal to other cells or by direct cell to cell interaction. So that is their role. In addition to that, we have other type of cells. There are cytotoxic cells that recognize and destroy other cells that have become infected. Different type of cells. Certain cell types which have the capacity to kill other cells which are should they become infected. Cytotoxic cells, they include, one is your CTL, which we just mentioned, cytotoxic T lymphocyte. These are also cytotoxic cells. So one category we have already discussed, and the second category, these are called as cytotoxic cells, include NK cells, which in the beginning I mentioned, natural killer cells. These are large granular lymphocytes. So these would be granular lymphocytes, NKs are. And third is eosinophils. So these were different cellular components, out of which CTL is especially important. This one is especially important, but other cell types may be active against particular type of infection. All of these cell types, they damage their different targets by releasing certain contents of their intracellular granules close to them. So cytokines, which are secreted by cytotoxic cells but not stored in granules, it contributes to basically damage. Large granular lymphocytes are also known as I said, these are granular lymphocytes which are called as natural killer cells, and they have the capacity to recognize the surface changes that occur in such as tumor cells and virally infected cells. So LGL, that is large granular lymphocyte, or NK cells, they damage these target cells. But they use a different kind of recognition system as compared to this one. They have a different recognition system. NK have different recognition system, and this sometimes it is called as NK activity. It is called as so. Whereas the third category is eosinophil polymorph. What they do, they engage and damage large extracellular parasites. So they would attack large extracellular parasites which are outside the cell in the intracellular spaces. They are specialized group of leukocytes, and they engage and damage large extracellular parasites such as schistosomes. One example given, extracellular parasite, schistosomes. So these are few examples of T cells. Then there is auxiliary control of inflammation. Auxiliary cells, there are auxiliary cells also, another type of cells which control the inflammation. Inflammation we have already talked in the beginning. So talk about auxiliary cells that control inflammation. The main purpose of inflammation is to attract leukocyte and soluble mediators of immunity towards the site of infection. And inflammation is mediated by other type of cells, different other type of cells, which are mast cells. Example is mast cells, basophils and platelets. Basophils and platelets, and their role is that they attract the leukocyte. Leukocytes are attracted to the site by certain secretions which are released by all these cells during inflammation. So inflammation is a kind of protective measure during any kind of infection. Hence, what the mast cells do? The mast cells, they are present in the tissues and they release certain mediators like histamine, and that would release the that would start the inflammatory reaction, such as dilution of the arterioles at the site, and hence the plasma and the leukocytes, they are released out of the blood at the site. So what is the role? Leukocyte would engulf the foreign particles, whereas the plasma, which has been released at the site of injury, that would help in diluting the toxins which are released by the phagocytes. So that is all for now, and we'll continue in the next video.